Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got it's a really incredible stack of sources in front of us.
They're quite something, aren't they? They really pull in different directions.
They do. They span millennia, and they merge these two sort of huge ideas. On the one hand, you have the really hyper-personal struggles of daily life.
The things that get to all of us.
And on the other, you have these terrifying, truly world-shaking prophetic visions. So our mission today is to figure out how these things connect. How do you stay spiritually vigilant when, the sources are talking about iron-toothed beasts literally devouring the world?
All right.
And I think the core tension here, and frankly, this is the most relatable part of this whole deep dive, is the subtle danger. It's not just about surviving, cosmic terror.
No.
It's about surviving your own Tuesday. Jesus, in the Gospel of Luke, warns about being weighed down by carousing, drunkenness, and drunkenness. This is the one. The anxieties of daily life.
And that's the synthesis we're aiming for. We're taking that urgent, practical advice from Luke, the call to watch, to pray, and we're weaving it into the massive, intimidating, but ultimately reassuring vision from the book of Daniel.
So the question is, does knowing about this inevitable huge victory actually help me deal with my morning commute?
That's exactly it.
Okay, so let's unpack that immediate personal challenge first, because I think this is where most of us, lose the fight. Luke 21 warns our hearts can become drowsy.
That's the word it uses, drowsy.
Yeah, and that drowsiness makes us spiritually blind, completely unprepared when, as it says, that day catches you by surprise like a trap.
Exactly. And we tend to focus on the spectacular things, right? The drunkenness, the dissipation. But Luke, he elevates the mundane, the anxieties of daily life. What is that? It's basically a continuous, low-grade psychological static.
A great way to put it.
It's all the worries that just consume our mental and emotional energy, and they leave nothing left for genuine presence, for spiritual readiness.
And what makes this so resonant right now is just the sheer volume of anxiety. Back then, maybe it was, crop failure, Roman taxes.
Sure.
Now we're talking burnout culture, constant information overload, the inbox that never ends, the 24/7 news cycle, all of it. It's exhausting.
It functions as a spiritual drain. The source material sees the heart as the center of readiness. It's the place where you recognize presence.
Okay.
So if that space is always occupied, if your internal landscape is just this chaotic, noisy city of worry, you simply cannot perceive the subtle movements of the divine. This isn't just moral advice. It's operational readiness training.
So if the heart is drowsy, what's the antidote? The reflection notes say it's an active state of vigilance.
Right. Active, not passive.
And it defines it as an act of love, keeping the soul ready to recognize God's presence no matter what's going on outside.
And that recognition requires an act of substitution. The sources are so explicit here. You have to choose prayer over worry.
Prayer over worry.
Yes, because worry is circular, it's destructive. Prayer is directed, it's constructive. You're literally replacing the mental loops of anxiety with intentional focus.
You can see that intentionality perfectly in the prayer that's paired with these readings. Psalm 119. It says, "Guard my steps according to your promise, and do not let any iniquity rule over me."
And that word rule is so key there.
Yeah.
Anxiety, when you let it go unchecked, it becomes a ruler. It dictates your mood, your decisions, your entire spiritual posture. This prayer is asking for a different ruler, the promise to set the direction. It's an internal declaration of independence from worry.
That sets us up perfectly for the pivot. We've established this internal battlefield, the heart, and the need for prayer to keep it vigilant. But what happens when that internal distraction meets a genuine external, world-shattering threat?
And that's Daniel chapter 7.
Exactly. That's where we turn to the cosmic battlefield.
We go from the subtle fight to the overwhelming spectacle. And the text does not hold back when Daniel sees this vision of the future. These tremendous predatory figures. His spirit was, and I quote, anguished within its covering of flesh.
He was terrified by the visions of my mind.
Yeah, the shock is physical, it's psychological, it's meant to convey genuine dread.
So he sees 4 great beasts. They represent 4 successive world powers, 4 kingdoms. It sets the stage for this huge historical drama. But after seeing the first 3, the lion, the bear, the leopard, he gets fixated on the last one.
He does. He specifically asks for certainty about the 4th beast. It's described as being so very terrible and different from the others.
So if the first 3 were known quantities of power.
Right. Then the 4th represents something totally unprecedented, a catastrophic global power.
And the details. This is where the shock value is. It's not just powerful, it's defined by total destruction. Tell us about its tools.
It's described as devouring and crushing with iron teeth and bronze claws. That imagery is so critical.
It's industrial.
It is. It implies a kind of cold, unfeeling brutality. A lion hunts because it's hungry. This beast crushes because that's its nature. It is inherently destructive. It doesn't just defeat an enemy. It fundamentally alters the landscape.
And in the middle of all this brutality, this strange political drama unfolds. You have 10 horns, which are 10 kings, and then this other horn grows up. The arrogant horn.
This is the concentration of the wickedness. The sources point out it had eyes in the mouth that spoke arrogantly.
So it's not just a military threat.
No, it's intellectual and spiritual. The eyes suggest cunning, perception. The mouth suggests propaganda, persuasive but arrogant rhetoric.
And its target is specific. It makes war against the holy ones. But the most alarming part for me isn't just the political dominance. It's this cultural and spiritual assault. It's described as thinking to change the feast days and the law.
That phrase is a pivotal insight. It tells you about the nature of deep oppression. It's not enough for this power to conquer land. It wants to dismantle identity. The law and the feast days are the markers of religious time, of community structure. To change them is to assert absolute sovereignty over the rhythm of life itself. It's spiritual gaslighting on a global scale.
So you have this terrifying picture. A world crushed by a beast with iron teeth, led by a cunning, arrogant power that's trying to dismantle the entire spiritual calendar.
Yeah.
When you're facing that, where is the anchor?
The anchor is the explicit limitation in the prophecy.
Yeah.
The holy ones will be handed over to him, but, and this is the key, for a strict, defined time. A year, 2 years, and a half year. That one detail, it shifts the entire dynamic. It turns endless, hopeless suffering into a difficult but finite test.
Why is that time frame, that 3.5 years, so psychologically important, even if it's symbolic?
Because it puts a clock on chaos. Our greatest anxiety often comes from the fear that a bad situation is permanent, that the oppressor is truly in charge. This text pulls back the curtain and says, no. This arrogant power is on a lease, and the lease is short. It makes despair structurally impossible, even if the pain is very real in the moment.
And right after that limitation, you get this spectacular arrival of justice. The text describes the Ancient One arrived, and judgment was pronounced in favor of the holy ones of the Most High.
This is the dramatic turning point. The judgment results in the complete, utter, final destruction of that arrogant power. The emphasis is on finality. Everything the beast built, everything the horn decreed, it's all swept away.
And that vacuum is instantly filled.
Instantly, by a new eternal structure. That transfer of authority is the ultimate reassurance. The kingship, dominion, and majesty of all kingdoms under heaven shall be given to the holy people of the Most High, whose kingdom shall be everlasting.
The contrast is just.
Yeah.
It's absolute.
It is. Temporary destructive power versus everlasting benevolent dominion. Daniel's vision establishes that no matter how terrifying earthly empires look, they are fundamentally ephemeral. All dominions will eventually serve and obey.
Okay, so let's snap these two pictures together. This is the synthesis. We have Luke demanding this fierce active vigilance against the drowsy threat of daily worry. And we have Daniel confirming that all earthly power is temporary, that it all leads to an everlasting kingdom. How does one feed the other?
Knowing the certainty of that final outcome, that all worldly oppression has a half-life, is precisely what gives you the motive for vigilance.
Oh.
If the kingdom is everlasting, then your preparation today isn't futile. Luke's command to be ready to stand before the Son of Man is the readiness you need to take part in Daniel's ultimate victory. Vigilance is the quality that ensures you're on the right side of that final judgment.
And the Alleluia verse, it just ties it all together, doesn't it? It explicitly connects constant vigilance and prayer to gaining the strength needed to stand. So it's kind of spiritual conditioning.
That's a perfect way to put it.
It's not just about intellectually agreeing with Daniel's prophecy. It's the daily work of resisting anxiety that builds the muscle to withstand the cosmic shock.
Yes. The daily battle against the inbox is the micro-training for the macro event. By choosing prayer over worry today, you are declaring faith in the Ancient One's promised future, which in turn strengthens you to endure whatever terror is present.
And that endurance, it's bolstered by the response we find in the responsorial psalm from Daniel 3. That song is basically a universal song of praise in the face of terror.
It is the ultimate statement of unwavering perspective. It's this universal choir singing, no matter if the beasts are crushing the earth right outside the window, it lists group after group called to praise.
You sons of men, O Israel, priests of the Lord, servants of the Lord.
Spirits and souls of the just, holy men of humble heart. The refrain, give glory and eternal praise to him, becomes this defiant, constructive alternative to succumbing to the anxiety and terror.
It's the proof that the heart is not drowsy. It is actively choosing praise over panic.
Exactly. So the sources give us a clear two-front battle plan. You fight the internal war against daily anxiety with prayer and vigilance because that's your preparation. And at the same time, you understand the context of the external war. No matter how terrifying the powers, the iron teeth, the arrogant rhetoric, their reign is strictly divinely temporary.
So that brings us to our final takeaway for you, listening. The choice presented in these texts is, I think, simple, but profound. Will you let the immediate Logrian distractions of daily life weigh down your heart and make you unprepared? Or will you actively choose vigilance, prayer, and praise, knowing that even the most destructive earthly powers have an explicit time limit imposed by the eternal King? The everlasting kingdom is the destination, but conscious vigilance is the ticket. And it's a ticket you purchase daily through focus.
And that focus, it starts right now. The source material is asking all of us to move from just passive learning to active commitment. So we'd encourage you to consider this question today. What mindful action can I take to keep my heart focused on that eternal promise, rather than on the anxieties of the world?
Yeah.
Think about the specific anxieties of daily life for you. That one nagging worry from work, that digital distraction, that financial stress. What is the biggest threat to your inner clarity right now? And what specific simple prayer or even just a mindful breath can you use to replace that worry and to assert the sovereignty of that everlasting kingdom? That focused action is where vigilance begins.